Welcome to episode number 8 of the SwanBank podcast. Normal service has been resumed this week, so I'm joined by the very wonderful Kathryn Stevens. Kathryn, how are you?
I'm very glad to be back with you. I know you missed me very much last week
in my greatly.
Time off. I know the podcast really suffered with my absence.
Did you listen last week? Of course you listened, because you know, a big supporter of what we're trying to do here.
Of course I listened. I know that you had a great time.
What was your favourite bit of last week's podcast?
I really enjoyed the fact that Russ shared with you.
Yes, very good.
That was great, and I really appreciated the kind things Rachel said.
Because you haven't picked up, Kathryn made no effort to listen to last week's podcast.
I haven't listened to it at
So
all.
has not heard Rachel's attempt to usurp her on the podcast. So we've had to get in quick while Rachel's not here, so that Rachel doesn't try and fight Kathryn for her podcast.
Do you want my
seat.
job?
She did want your job.
Wow.
She's very keen. Alice was very happy to let you continue.
I'm sure Alice is not a fan of the whole
Rachel,
recording
however,
thing, is she?
Is all about being the centre of attention, is Rachel, isn't she?
You said that, not me.
You didn't deny it. That's all I'm going to say. How was your week off?
Well, it was all right.
It's all right.
Do you know, I mean, I had a bit of a rest, so that was good. It's a bit frustrating when you can't go anywhere, but you can go to a garden centre if it's necessary. So
right.
I went to a garden centre. You've
done some necessary garden renovations.
We did, actually.
With the
some
newly
stuff.
painted decking. Of
yes.
course, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, newly painted decking. We bought a water feature. So, why is that funny?
You're one of those, aren't you? Oh,
yeah,
dear.
yeah. We bought a water feature. I really like it. So,
good.
Yeah.
One of the things that I often do while I'm off is watch. There's a daytime TV program on the BBC with, do you remember Charlie Dimmock off of Ground Force?
Yes, I've seen.
What's it called?
Garden.
There's her
something.
and then the two very trendy men.
Garden Rescue.
Something like that. But
I don't know.
Good garden inspiration. They love a water feature on that program.
They do, and they compete, don't they?
They
so
do,
it's
indeed.
The two brothers against Charlie Dimmock.
With excellent facial hair, the brothers have.
I didn't know if you meant the brothers or Charlie. So
can we leave that in?
Yeah, why not?
We'll leave that in.
Why
That's
not?
fine.
We've left worse in before,
great.
I think. So yeah, that's good. And I know that you've been watching a program that I've been watching with Alan Carr.
We talked about this in the office yesterday. Interior Design Matters.
Yes.
It was the grand final this week.
It was very good.
Very good.
If people haven't watched it, you should watch it back, guys.
If you're into
really
interior
good.
design, or you're looking for some inspiration.
Yes.
Or if you just miss changing rooms.
Yes.
Then this is a good...
Changing rooms. I didn't even think you'd remember changing rooms.
Yeah.
Are you old enough to remember
Carol
changing
Smiley.
rooms? Smiley Carroll.
And who else was there? Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I didn't like him.
Velvet suits.
Yeah, didn't like him.
But, I mean, there are some extreme things going on in that makeover program,
weird.
aren't there?
There's some weird stuff.
Most
things I wouldn't put in my house, I don't think.
No. Very extreme. And what is it? Lots of them seem to want like massive pictures of like
birds.
I said that actually on the night. I said, why have they got... Sorry about this. I said, why have they got a pecan on the wall? It's like...
A pecan?
A pecan is a nut.
A pecan?
I meant a toucan.
A toucan? Wow.
Oh dear.
Pecans and toucans. Not to be confused.
Not to be confused. You wouldn't want to eat a toucan, I don't think.
That's very true.
And I don't really know what to say about a pecan. So there you go.
Yeah. Where do you find a toucan? I'm not sure I've ever seen a toucan in the flesh.
I don't think they're native to the UK. I don't know. Paradise. Right. It's a bird of paradise.
Brilliant. One of the things we have discussed since you coming back is normally you just before you take a week off, you're in a certain mood. You come out with certain comments.
I am.
And normally a week off solves that.
Yes.
But this time around, it doesn't seem to have solved.
It does. That's worrying, isn't it?
Which is worrying.
So guys, you need to hear that when I'm ready for some time off, I'm usually a bit tired by then, so I lose my filter. So things that I'd usually just have as an internal dialogue in my head sometimes come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And so they're used to it in the office, like before I go on holiday. But I've come back and I've just been as bad. Yeah. So that's not good.
Not
really.
a good sign of things to come.
No.
Hey. Well, we missed you while you were off.
Thank you, Sam.
We did some fun things.
Oh.
Yeah.
You see, that really upsets me. It really does, because I've got FOMO, which is fear of missing out. Yeah. So the fact that you lot had fun and I missed out is not good. I had lots of fun as well, though.
Good.
I sat in a car park with my flask of tea.
Wonderful.
And Lloyd. Me and Lloyd and a flask of tea.
So what did you buy from a garden centre? You bought a water feature?
I bought a water feature.
Did you go 3 times to make sure that you chose the right water feature, or did you...
Well, I did a lot of research online.
Okay, yeah.
And then I looked at some options.
Yeah.
And if anyone's interested, my personal view is the best place to go for a more moderately priced...
Yeah, easy for you to say.
Yes. Water feature is the Range.
The Range, interesting. I'm not a fan of the Range.
I knew you wouldn't be a fan of the Range.
I'm not a fan.
I could see that.
I don't understand why you would go to the Range when you could go to Wilkos.
Oh. Well, what?
I think the Range is just a bad version
the
of
Range.
Wilkos.
No, the Range has got an amazing range of pictures, hasn't it? I mean, it's in the title, isn't it?
Has it?
The Range.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you want a range of stuff, you go to the
Right.
Range. So if you need pictures, photo frames, mirrors,
Yeah.
good selection of lights,
Better
craft
selection of Wilkos.
materials.
That's all I'm saying. Oh, yes.
Bedding, excellent selection of bedding.
Also at Wilkos.
Not as much. I think you're wrong.
Ah.
Painting and decorating. I know Wilkos have that as well. Pet care.
Wilkos.
Garden stuff.
Wilkos.
Really?
For sure.
Iceland. Iceland is now in the Range,
Okay.
not in Wilkos. They've got a whole selection of frozen food.
Okay. But if you go to the Wilkos in Leek, there is an Iceland next door.
That's true.
So
That is true. Yeah.
we had a great time on Sunday. We don't normally get to do the morning service together.
We don't.
So that was a treat.
It was a treat.
It was a
I
treat.
can't remember anything about it
No.
now, but I know it was good.
My biggest memory is that we had to swap seats, which neither of us were very pleased about.
No,
Because I had to
No.
sit in your usual chair, which
Yes.
is just not the same.
it's not. No, we were used to our usual spots.
Indeed. But Sunday was all about marking a year of church online. And this week, of course, we've marked a year of lockdown.
Yeah.
And so I just wonder what your reflections are on the past year and all we've experienced together.
I was on the radio doing this on Tuesday, you know.
Were you?
Yeah, they asked me all about it on Tuesday
Okay.
on the radio. And I kind of said then, you know, a year ago we were introduced to this thing called lockdown that
Yeah.
we didn't really, I mean, it was all new to us, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Never heard about it before. And I remember that we hit the ground running here regarding lockdown. That was you, really. You kind of got on top of the whole, you know, live stream and worship thing. And we started off in the studio.
We did.
With
Lovely
Russ.
Russell.
Yeah. And Russ was really helpful, actually, wasn't he? I mean, we learnt stuff
He
through
put
that
up with
time.
a lot from us, didn't he?
Really, my favourite bit of that was one of the services that I was doing. It was a dramatic reading. And it involved balloons.
Yes.
So I was standing doing this reading to the camera, and you and Amy were lying either side of me on the floor. And whenever I said certain words, you had to let go of a balloon, but not
Helium
properly
balloon,
let
wasn't
go
it?
of. Yeah,
With a
so
string on it.
so it would like kind of pop up
Yeah.
and stay there. And you were terrible
I was terrible
at that, weren't you?
I think I had bad help. So Amy had, I think she had Ali to help her on her side,
Okay.
and I had Pete Hancock.
Oh,
So
well,
I
say
mean
no
that
more.
was well indeed. So I had no chance, did I really?
It was very funny though.
Yeah.
We laughed a lot.
Many
We
a helium balloon ended up on Russ's ceiling.
There might still be that. We have laughed
We have.
a lot this year, haven't we?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it hasn't been hard. We've sometimes I think the laugh has been more hysterical rather than
A desperate
yeah.
attempt to find some joy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's been some deep sadness, hasn't there?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, we've lost church members through
Yeah.
this time. We've had some really sad funerals.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, not being able to mark those
Yeah.
those sad occasions
Mhm.
in a way that we would like has been
Absolutely.
one of the worst things for sure.
I think that's been one of the hardest things for people, and you know, my heart absolutely goes out to people who've lost loved ones through this time, because I think I talked about this at our first podcast actually about grief.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's still through this time. I think there's been such an experience of grief for people that's just deeply sad.
Yeah. And whenever we talk about coming back together, there's an excitement to that, but for me it's always tinged with this person's not going to be there or whatever, and that just is that's always going to be there, isn't it? I suppose
it is. It is. And so how we do that as a church is really important as well, isn't it? How we, celebrate when we can be back together.
Yeah.
But how we do so in a way that will honour, what the fact that, we're missing people who we love.
Yeah.
And so how we do that sensitively, but also I think how we help people through this time of grief for those who are closest to those who've passed away.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And I think lots of you will have seen the stuff we've done on a Sunday on social media. The most powerful and impressive thing from my point of view is just the amount of time and energy people have put into supporting one another. So those people who've faithfully rang round their phone lists every week.
Yes.
We chatted to George a little bit last week about her doing shopping. She's been doing shopping for these few people every single week since the beginning of lockdown, and she's not the only one who's doing that. She's not. I mean, there's people who have just quietly got on and
gone
above and beyond.
And Georgie is one of those. Georgie's done stuff that no one will know about, and I know she's not alone. Like you say, there's all sorts of other people who have, and I know that's just made such a difference. We're back to the motto that we began with a year ago was not what we can't do, but what we can do.
Yeah.
And we've tried our best, to the best of our ability, with the resources that we've had, to do that and to stay with that for this whole year. And were there things we might have done differently? Possibly. Were there other things we could have done? Absolutely. But what I do know and what I'm confident of is that we've worked our hardest,
absolutely,
and tried to put our energies into the places where we felt they were most needed. So in that respect, I don't have any regrets about what we've done with this last year.
Rachel will hate the fact that you've brought back the focusing on not what we can't do, but what we can do.
Does she not like that
slogan? Oh, she was not.
She's not into slogans, is she?
Not at all.
No.
Not at all. One of the most impressive things, I think, which has mostly come from you, to be fair, is the fact that we're 12 months into a global pandemic, into lockdown, and yet we still are a church with a vision for the future and a vision for some next steps.
We had church council last night, didn't we?
We did indeed. And the fact that we're, come to the end of this and there is real excitement for what's next and not just a real exhaustion of, oh my goodness, I'm absolutely done now.
Yeah.
For me, it says a lot about what we've been able to do.
It does, actually. And I don't, that's not where every church is sitting at the moment.
Yeah.
And so, that's not to say that they're at fault. It's just, I think that's because of the energy within this
place. It's
place.
a credit to the people resources, I think, that we have at our disposal, which we are so blessed to have, aren't we?
We are, yeah. So we've got all sorts of plans for whenever we're able to do them.
Yeah. What's the thing you're most excited about as we look ahead?
I've got two things, I think. One is, so we're planning a year of mission, which we're going to find a better title for.
Yeah.
But we haven't yet.
No.
And we're trying to pull together some of our creative people in the church to just think outside of the box
and have a better name.
And yes, that's the first job. Give us a better name than a year of mission, guys. And just to think about how we can be very present and visible within our community and share the love of Jesus with our community. And so whenever people are able to be out and about and we can gather, then we're gonna be doing stuff for a year, really, and possibly, I'm not sure what that's gonna look like, but I just feel really hopeful about that. And the other thing is in its infancy, really, but it's around adapting the work of the coffee lounge to really focus in on the community hub aspect of it. And I just feel so hopeful about that, actually. You know, I feel that that this is going to sit at the heart of our missional work as a church. And it's about seeing where we're at, seeing the resources we have, and saying, right, how can we best use these resources to score as many goals as possible. And that's just really exciting, isn't it? And what was lovely is, so church council last night was, I like felt ready to lie down in a darkened room afterwards. I literally had a headache afterwards, because I think I'd been so focused on like about 30 screens of little thumbnails of people zooming in and seeing who wants to speak next and things like that, and just putting a lot of time and energy into trying to share some of the stuff that's on our hearts.
We're so excited about the vision that we have, and we've been talking about it for a little while, so it's quite clear in our heads. Making sure we communicate that in a clear and efficient way is another thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's where we sometimes made mistakes actually over this time, is because we live and breathe it. We are socially distanced in the office, so we're always bouncing ideas off each other. And usually the next step to that would be we'd have everyone together in church on a Sunday, and we'd say, guys, we're thinking about this, or we're thinking about that, and people would start to hear about it and get energy about it. And while we have tried to put things out on our social media or in the newsletters, it's just not the same.
No.
And so, you know, people might not read the newsletter, so they miss out on something, or they might miss a Sunday service and they don't hear it. And or
even just the fact that we're, you know, engaging with stuff separately. The time you'd have the conversations about that is you'd say something about it on the Sunday.
Yeah.
You invite people to come and chat to you afterwards about it.
Yeah.
And so it's that being able to respond immediately just isn't available, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. So I was really, really pleased with church council last night, because I felt like people got it. And not only was it a yes, go ahead and make those plans, but it was a actually, this is really exciting. It's really good to hear about this. This feels like it's, you know, it feels like God is all over this kind of thing, which is great.
And the best thing about that for me is that there is still, even though we've been so separate, that sense of being united in our purpose and our mission to share the gospel into our local community.
Absolutely.
And for me, the fact that we've come out of 12 months of being apart, and still there's that sense of unity, being able to get behind a common purpose is exciting for the future, really.
It is. I mean, we've got all kinds of plans to kind of roll out, haven't we? And it's just what we need is the wisdom to know what we do first, and also learning from the mistakes of the past that God absolutely does not want us to exhaust ourselves. So it's how we discern, how we use our energy, how we work smartly, so we can be as effective and fruitful as possible with the time and the resources that we have. So this is a season every season is a season to listen to God, but I feel particularly this is a season where we need to continually be saying, look, God, is this what you want of us? You know, how do you want me to use my time and my energy?
Love that. If you were to look forward to 12 months from now, so whatever today is, something of March 2022, what sort of church would you like us to be in a year's time?
That's a really good question. I would want this to be a church that well, we're already a church that is well known within the community, so that's you know, that's because of the amazing work that's gone on in the past through the life of the church. But I'd want us to be seen to be a place of genuine welcome, of a safe place to be, a place where you can come and be yourself and discover faith, and recognise that we don't all have to be the same in every way, but there is a heart in this church that is God's heart, and that those of us who are who are committed Christians, our desire is to be in tune with the heart of God. So I think that kind of environment creates a real particular feel about it. So I would love when people walk into this building that they're like, there's something different about that place.
Yeah.
That actually it's tangible. The difference is tangible because the Holy Spirit is so present and at work, and the love of Jesus pervades everything that we do as a church.
Use the phrase trying to get ourselves in tune with the heart of God. Thinking a bit more practically, how does that look? What does that look like? How do we get ourselves to a place where we can be in tune with God's heart?
I think that is a work of the heart. So I think that that is both an individual and a corporate thing. So it's very easy, actually, particularly in a church like SwanBank, I think, to come and to serve faithfully and to work hard and to be very much part of the family, but actually to have lost connection with that heart-to-heart relationship with God. For our service to become something we do because that's what we do, but to forget that our motivation for everything is the love of Jesus for us and for the world. And I think that I've seen a number of churches where good people have really just become weary and worn by working hard to keep church on the road, to keep church going. And actually the task of building the church is not ours, that's God's work. Our calling is to be faithful to and obedient to God. I think when we fall into the trap of thinking, gosh, the responsibility for the future of the church falls to me, and I get in that place sometimes. I could lose sleep over all of this kind of thing. I have to just think, no, that's not right. That's not right. This is God's work. I have to do my very best to be tuned in to God and to try and listen as well as I can. And that's all about time out with God. It's about individual and corporate prayer. It's about reading the Bible and saying, God, what are you trying to say to me through this? It's about chatting to trusted Christian people. It's about throwing ideas around, and suddenly you find, you have a God moment and you think, oh, wow. I mean, someone spoke to me 2 years ago. It was Sue Woodward from Food Bank about a community pantry. So, which is like a place where people can get food fairly cheaply. And as I drove home from church council last night, literally I was about a minute from church and I was just driving home and I thought community pantry pinged in my head. And then I went home and opened my emails, checked my emails, and Rachel had emailed me about a community pantry.
Wow.
And it's like, oh, well, that's like... That's more than a coincidence, isn't it? Because she had no idea that was in my head, and I had no idea that she was going to send that email. And and it's just like, oh, right, God, what are you trying to say to us here? And we listen well and try and discern, and that's what we'll do about this idea as well.
Well, it's about listening and then being able to respond, isn't it? And being wise in how we respond to those pings from God.
Absolutely, because the truth is there are lots of good ideas, do you know, and there's nothing wrong with a good idea, but a good idea is not necessarily a God idea, is it? I really that's really cheesy. Rachel won't like that one.
Stick
either,
that on a t-shirt.
So we don't want to be a church that just does lots of good ideas. We want to be a church that's doing the God ideas.
You I can't remember, we were in a conversation at some point and you said I think at some point in the last week, discernment is one of the hardest parts of our Christian journey. I don't even know who that was.
I did say that.
Yeah. Was that was definitely you?
Yeah, it was me. I can't remember when I said it, but I have said that this week.
And that's I think that's one of the things for our church, particularly as we come out of a time of being so restricted,
Yeah.
Your automatic thing is to, well, let's just do all of these things all in one go.
Yeah.
And the challenge is going to be discerning, well, what's a priority?
Yeah.
What's for now? What's for further down the line? What is it that God would have us do for the here and the now?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not going to be easy. It's going to take a lot of, what you've just talked about, a lot of prayer, both individually and corporately.
Yeah.
A lot of sharing together in community.
Absolutely.
So we notice the things that come to the fore as we allow God to speak to us.
Yeah, that's so true. One of the sins of church life, and particularly churches that have a more evangelical leaning, as we do, is that we busy ourselves all the time.
Yeah,
and we don't find it easy to learn a more contemplative way of being. Now I can say that because I'm criticising myself in all of that, because that's my natural place to sit. But actually, God calls us to a balanced life, and our example is always Jesus, who seemed to find that balance really well. So he was pushed at times. Yes, he was stretched. Yes, he had people pursuing him at times. We hear about that. But even then, he knew there were times when he had to just go away, stop the work for a bit, recharge, spend some time with the Father, be refilled, and then ready for the next part of the ministry.
Because we have to recognise that although we've not been able to do as much, this past 12 months has not been a time of rest. It's not been a time of, being able to really stop.
Yeah.
We've actually not stopped at all.
No, we haven't.
And so trying to find those spaces in the midst of wanting to keep going now, wanting to restart a couple of months down the line, most likely.
Yeah.
Trying to find those points to rest and recharge and really intentionally listen to God is going to be really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think something that was said in one of our meetings this week is that we need to start in the way we mean to go on.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be really easy for us to go back to some old habits that haven't necessarily been the healthiest, or to restart in a way that creates some new habits that aren't necessarily healthy either.
Yeah.
So it's about practicing the pause.
Yep.
Before we step into anything, just thinking, right, before I do this, is this what I believe God is wanting of me as an individual, or of us as a church? So each time we just have that moment of thinking, right, is this right? Do we think this is right? And in the end, I don't think none of us know fully the heart of God, do we? Do you know? We don't. But I'm a really firm believer in that God sees the intention. God sees what's going on within us, and if the intention is godly, then I think there's a lot of grace for us within all of that.
Love that. Well, to you, a listener who've been part of the journey over the last 12 months, thank you so much for all that you have contributed to and participated in. As we said on Sunday morning, I think it's really nice when we hear bits of feedback that even though we're literally just here talking to each other in a room, or we're there on a Sunday talking to a camera, the fact that people are able to experience God through some of what we're offering is great. And we heard some great stories on Sunday morning about real life transformation.
We did, which is amazing.
Through what we've been able to do from here, which is just great. And that's not going to stop. God's not going to stop doing his thing.
No.
We're not going to stop trying to be faithful in serving him. And so if anything that you've heard as you've been listening has pinged something in you that says, oh, maybe I could be involved in that, or maybe I've got something to offer, or maybe there's something I feel like God's been speaking to me about that might be for SwanBank or might connect in with something I've heard, then please do just get in touch. And we'd really love to hear from you. And over the next few weeks, you'll start to hear some of our plans of how we're going to emerge out of this.
Absolutely.
And start to become the church that we're believing God is calling us to be.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening to this week. Thank you for putting up with Kathryn being back. It's been wonderful to have her on again. We'll be back next week at the usual time on Friday. In the meantime, you can check out our Facebook page or our Instagram to check out all the stuff that's going on week to week, and there'll be all sorts of stuff coming out about Easter over the next few days, so please do check in with that. And we'll be back next week for an Easter special.
Hooray!
Oh, Easter special. Have a great week. See you very soon.